Perhaps I should stop talking about what I'm going to cover in my next video, because serendipity can always kick in and I'll end up covering something else. So in this video I have something in front of me which I got a couple hours ago, and it is a computer. It's an 8-bit computer. I haven't actually looked at it. I went and picked it up here in town. A friend of mine called me up and she told me that her husband's brother called and said he had a Tandy computer and asked me if I wanted it because she knows that I'm into these old computers. And I said, I don't know. I thought it was going to be a DOS machine. So I gave him a call yesterday, and he told me what it was. It's a Tandy, he said, Color Computer 3, 128K. And that's what it is. I haven't even looked at it. It looks pretty darn dirty. Came with some books, a cartridge, and a joystick. We'll see if any of this works. Maybe in this video, maybe in another one. Maybe not at all. Maybe I won't even be that interested in it. But I thought I'd give you guys a look at what I've got. So, we have... See, this is really the first time I've touched any of this stuff. This is the Tandy Deluxe joystick. Seems like it works okay still. I've had a Tandy CoCo before. I even had a Color Computer 3. The person who gave this system to me isn't sure where he got it. And this might have actually belonged to me at one point, because I used to have a CoCo 3, and I gave it to, I think, my friend Ernie, and Ernie may have given it to his brother, and that's how he may have ended up getting it. So look, these are actually the books that came with it originally. Yeah, well, cool. Maybe I'll type in a program. I don't have any way to save or anything like that. The system has 128K. This is kind of cool. A little, I think this has an enhanced version of BASIC, I think. The differences here that I am glad to see are that it's got the power supply plugged in, or not plugged in, I mean part of the system. It's got an AC power supply in here. Let me give a peek here, see if it has extra RAM. It doesn't. This system ships with 128K. You can upgrade it to 512K from Radio Shack, and it doesn't seem to have it. You'd be able to see it right there through the air vents. This is, I think, up to RF. Yeah. And there is composite on this. There's also analog RGB, and a lot of people on the internet say, well, that's hard to find a monitor for it. For me, it's easy. I use Amigas. Amigas use analog RGB, the 15 kilohertz systems. I'm going to zoom in so you can see how dirty this is, and maybe I'm just going to jump straight ahead to trying to turn the system on and seeing what happens. As you can see, the system looks kind of discolored, but it doesn't look too bad. The system is white. It doesn't look white, but it doesn't also look like it's yellowed. And it's got grit and stuff here, but it looks like it would probably do a pretty good job if I was to either open it up to clean it out, or have you and you know, see what I can do about it. This system has a pretty good keyboard. It has a good response. It doesn't look like anything has been spilled into it. I mean, just looking through the vents, it looks kind of clean inside. It looks like it does have a cigarette burn or something here. It's definitely a burn of some sort. It's actually melted the plastic. Which means it's probably in some smoke-filled environment, which is fine with me. You know, the cost for this, by the way, was free. So if it works, and even if it doesn't, even if all I get out of this is making this little video, that's cool. And I got a cartridge out of it, and a couple of books and a joystick. I'm going to zoom in and show you, like, looks like maybe, I don't know what's here. I'm going to vacuum this up here in a minute and see what it looks like a little closer. But there's some grit here and stuff like that. A little bit closer, zoom in on the keyboard. As I was saying, this is some grit and grime, but you know, with a little bit of vacuuming, that might come off pretty easily enough. I'm curious about the underside, and I would turn it upside down, but all the grit and grime will fall off. So I'm going to get a vacuum and clean this off and see what it looks like afterward. I'm not going to try to clean it, really. If I do decide to clean this, I will do it after I try it out, because there's no point in making it look pretty if it doesn't work. I spent about a minute and a half vacuuming it off and got all the major gook and stuff off of there. It needs to be cleaned thoroughly still, but now I turned it over to check it out at the back, and it's really clean in the back, so this might clean up pretty nicely. I'll show you the back real quick. Here's the back of the unit. It's very nice. It looks pretty white still. I'm surprised. It's never been opened. This is the TRS-80 Model 3, so it's got, I think, a 6809 processor in it. This is the RGB out. Obviously takes some special connector, although looking at it, it looks like one of the pins broke off, so I guess I'll never be able to get that to work, unless that pin's a key pin, I don't know. But if it's supposed to have all, what, 10, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 pins, I think, then it's broken, so it won't work, which is not like it matters, although I do think that there are some modes on here that only work in RGB mode, and if that's the case, it won't work, which is okay, because I'm not going to use it probably. I decided to take a second look at the accessories that came with the system, and by accessories, I don't know if this came standard or not. I don't think this came with it. I remember for my CoCo 2 that I used to have, it had these really non-self-centering black controllers that had, like if I was holding it, they were smaller, and they had a button here. And I think when those sold in the 1980s, you'd get 2 of them in a package for, I think, 20 bucks. And I think this Deluxe joystick, as you can see, it says Deluxe joystick. I think this retailed for $24.95 or $29.95. Something like that, or maybe you can get 2 for $50, and they were $30 a piece, something like that. I don't remember, but they were not only more expensive, they were much better because they're self-centering, whereas the other ones are not. I don't know if these are hard to come by or easy to come by at all, but there's different kinds of modes here. I don't know what this does, but I just switched it from free to hold. So I don't know. I'm probably not supposed to screw with that too much. But it's got adjustments. I never really liked the, I guess I should say, these are analog joysticks as opposed to digital joysticks, which you hear oftentimes the people in the CoCo world, at least in the 80s, I don't know what they think of these joysticks now, but they said that they were better because they were analog. But personally, most games require digital controls, so I've always found these difficult to use. This is introducing my CoCo 3. What does it say in here? Talks about program packs, which is what they call cartridges on this system. Welcome to Color. And this, since this came out in '86, the system, it was quite a few years after the original CoCo, which I think came out in 1980. Yeah, this is from 1986. It says. I don't know if you can actually read any of that. Anything interesting on these first few pages? Using the display, putting in cartridges, symptoms, monitor jack. Oh, so the RGB, yeah, it does have a broken pin. One of, like this pin here, let's see, let me take a look real quick. I can tell you exactly what pin it is. If I'm looking at it, it's the 3rd pin, so I'm not sure if that's pin 5 or pin 4, but if it's pin 5, then it is supposed to be blue, so that's definitely not going to work. And if it's pin yeah. So 1, 2, 3. Yeah. So it's either pin 5 or pin 6. If it's pin 6, it's no pin. Oh, it's not supposed to have a pin. What do you know? So I guess that is a key pin. So it's not broken after all. Look what happens when I start reading instructions, right? All right. Let's take a look at the back of the unit and see what we have. Oh, you know, let's do a close-up of maybe the basic manual real quick, because it's dusty and dirty, but I don't care. I'm not even sure if the system works yet, but it is curious to go through this. These manuals were even a little too dusty for me, so I cleaned this manual off with some alcohol. I was hoping it wouldn't make the ink run, and it didn't. I just used a tiny bit. You can't really tell any difference, but I mean, it was grime on there, like forget about it. So this was printed in, where was it printed again? In Korea in 1986. And it's pretty hefty. There's 300 something pages in here, about 350 pages, and I know this is basically Microsoft Basic in ROM. Then somehow there's some extensions that were written for it for the CoCo that give some added abilities. And I know that there's some issues with some of them, and I think there's some bugs in it, at least according to a video that I watched. And I do want to thank, let's see, Retro Logic Labs, who just made a short little overview of the CoCo 3 and a teardown. It was about a 12-minute video. I watched it today. It was posted about 3 years ago. And it helped me understand a little bit about the CoCo. So let's get going here. We have the cover page, and welcome the newcomers. It talks about what the basics are, how to use the system, and I'm learning this as I go through these pages. Meet your computer, probably pretty much like any of the other ones. I always loved these pictures that they were in the original CoCo 2. I mean, these aren't the same pictures, but they're very similar. At least I don't think they're the same ones. I don't think that the original TRS-80 with the Z80 processor had these kind of pictures, but maybe they did. This is supposed to be like, a friendlier computer, so. Talks about simple programming. Probably try to get something. I think there's some sound commands built into this language. I'm not sure. Although I think the sound that's available on the CoCo is pretty limited. I think it's just kind of like a beeper. But I'm not sure. I'd have to try it out. Which I might if it works, or I might not if it doesn't. Yeah, these are really simple programs. We're already on page 30, and they're still just like doing simple for loops. But I guess that makes sense. If you've never touched a computer before, then that's a good place to start. Let's see, Microsoft Basic, showing you there's positions of the screen. I think the system has high-res modes and things like that, so pretty nice. I'm not going to go down through that. If you're interested in the specs of the system, look at the Wikipedia page, because I sort of browsed it, and that's about it. I normally try to look at these a little more, but since I don't even know if the system works, I thought it might be a good idea to just see if it works and go through it. Kind of as a fun way to share with some of my viewers and some of my friends who check this kind of stuff out. Oh, check it out. I'm learning as I go. Here's some pictures. Maybe I should zoom in on these. These are kind of cool. And see what they are. Let's see. Yeah. Oh, cool. I will try. Oh, one thing about this is called computer art sample program number 29. I'm definitely going to type that in, because one of my things that I love about these old computer systems is, since it was simple to create computer art in many basics, that was something that they would do so you could see how to use your computer. And oh yeah, look at that. That's beautiful. Great. I'm going to try some of this out. I will not try it out today, but I will try it out eventually. So let's see if I guess I don't even really have to zoom in on it. This is computer art, and we'll zoom in a little bit. Nah, no I won't. If you can't see it, that's all right. You get the basic idea. This one does lines. What's interesting is around the same time period, the Amiga was coming out. It came out in the end of 1985, early 1986. And this system, I think, came out actually after the Amiga, the original Amiga, called the 1000 now. But the Amiga 1000 came with the Amiga Basic, which didn't originally come with the Amiga. It came with an earlier version of BASIC, but it had programs like this, so you could make lines on the screen, and it probably worked a lot faster because it had the 68000, which was also a Motorola chip. Let's see. Cool, pretty cool. Yeah, I'm definitely going to type in at least a couple of programs. I have no way to save them, so they're going to have to be short. I don't think that the system uses any standard cables for cassettes, but we'll continue going through the manual here. Arrays, subroutines, machine language. So if you can access machine language right away, that's kind of neat. And I think I do have a kind of 6809 machine language, but just because of my curiosity with the Vectrex, which uses the same CPU. So some of these are really long. Some of these, were people really using these old computers for shopping lists? I mean, what would you do? You'd print out your shopping list? It's a lot easier just to write it, on a piece of paper, which I do to this day. And there's easier ways for some people. Some people use their phones. Not me. All right, let's look at the back of the computer and see what we can see. We're looking at the back of the system, and it's got a reset switch, some other I/O here. I'm going to zoom in just a tiny bit more so you can see what it is. All this information is easy to find, and I'm just kind of doing this out of curiosity for myself. And I think it's interesting to learn, and I might as well share it. This is a little bit close-up of my color computer here, the Model 3. This is the right side of the system. This right here is the right side, and this is the left side. And I've zoomed in so you don't see the entire system now. So we have a momentary switch, which is a reset switch. We have the composite I/O. We have the RF out, and so that's the demodulator, or is it modulator? Yeah. And here we have a channel select switch. 3 and 4, and another system sometimes it's 2 to 3. Here we have a cassette jack. It looks like it's a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pin DIN. We have a serial I/O, which is just a bit banger. Don't need to go into details. Either you know what it is or you don't, I suppose. We have the left and right joysticks, which are analog, and we have power on, off, and that is it. I don't know. I know that there's some interesting devices that I could purchase for this, or even just build myself. There's something called DriveWire, which I think is an I/O and acts similarly to a disk drive, and lets you run at about 2400 baud and load programs off your computer. There's also something out there nowadays called the CoCo SDC, which I think is a cartridge and lets you load quote discs from SD cards, and which would be the way to go. I was pricing those, and they're pretty inexpensive. But that's even if the system works, and I might not even bother getting anything in addition to playing the one cartridge I have, because it's not like I was looking for this system. It just sort of fell into my lap. Although I have fond memories of using the system until I got rid of it. In fact, I gave it away. I used to have a newsletter in the 1990s, and I was always looking for used stuff, and I would give used stuff away through like a free computer paper that was local to us here in town in Albuquerque. And I gave away my CoCo 2 with a whole bunch of disk drives and cartridges and joysticks to someone who didn't have a computer, and called me and said, "Hey, I don't have one. Do you have something I can use?" And I said, "Well, if you don't care what it is and you just want to learn about computers, give me a call and we'll," or I guess he was calling me, "just come on over and we'll work it out." And I think that day or the next day he came over and got a whole bunch of stuff. Let's take a closer look at that cartridge. Here's the only cartridge that I have for my CoCo 3. And this came out in 1987, according to the label anyway. It's called Springster. And this label does ring a bell, so either I had this cartridge before and I got rid of it along with that CoCo 2, or maybe this actually was in my collection before. I was mentioning that this could have been my system earlier. So on the top here is a description of what the game is. Here you have the catalog number 26-3078, and it's sold by Tandy. And I do think it's interesting that the person who called me up, or I called them about it, didn't realize this was actually a TRS-80, and I asked, and he said, "No, I don't think it is." And I asked him to send me a picture from his phone, but he didn't have a way to do that, so he just read what it said, and I said, "Okay." I didn't realize that it actually doesn't say TRS-80 on it anywhere. I don't know if that's a label variation or what. But I don't even remember what kind of game this is, but it says it's only for the CoCo 3 with 128K of RAM, television, or an RGB monitor and a joystick. And it says, and I'll read it to you, you could probably do that yourself, but it says, "Springster offers the finest in high resolution, brilliant color graphics. Maneuver through 32 different, exciting mazes in search of the Maze Melon. Battle bad guys, collect treasures, and race the clock during your perilous quest. The reskill levels ensures fun for all members of the family. 1 or 2 players allowed." And 3 players. Nope, that's it. That's straight out. So these cartridges are about 4 inches wide by about 3 inches deep, and about 3/4 of an inch tall, maybe a little less than that, or maybe a little more than that. And that's it for this. Next up, I'm going to see if I can't get the system to boot. Maybe I'll fry it. I'm not actually going to open up. We'll see. I don't think it's going to do that, but you never can tell. And if I've probably got some people staring me down right now going, "Well, open the system up and check it out first," but I'm pretty confident that it's going to work. To make this official, I really am doing this cold. The only thing I did was I plugged this CoCo 3 into my 14-inch Toshiba TV, and I turned on the TV, changed it to RF, plug the RF out here. So see if it works. Turn it on, we should have some RF signal. One thing I did do is I did turn this on without a picture to the screen to see if it did anything at all. And it didn't smoke, so that's good. So now we are going to turn it on and see if we get a signal here. And whew, it works. It says Extended Color Basic 2.0. Copyright 1982-1986 by Tandy, under license from Microsoft and Microware Systems Core. So that is working. Of course, we have to type something to get something onto the screen. Man, I wonder if that color is always going to flash like that. Valley.com. And we'll close quotes. We'll run it. And it works. It's the first time it's probably ever said valleyalley.com on this system, that is for sure. I did want to try a game since I've got one. I can plug that in. Let's look at that next. I want to say I'm really excited to see this working, but I kind of expected it to. I do hear that these systems hold up pretty well. And I don't know if anyone from that podcast will ever listen, but I do want to say I probably would not have picked this up if not for the CoCo Crew podcast. I've been listening to that podcast on and off for the last year or two, something like that. I appreciate everyone out there. I've left some feedback before, and great. So I will try this next, not today, not in this video, but with my composite. And I do have a Commodore 1080 monitor for my Amiga, and that I sometimes use with my Atari, and maybe I will try to use it on this system as well. I think I'll probably get better color, certainly from composite, and it actually looks pretty good, to tell you the truth, for RF. I know that people nowadays would see all the RF interference, and is it there? Absolutely, there's tons of RF interference, but I'm not going to be picky about it. I do know that it would look better on composite, and it would look absolutely spectacular and beautiful with RGB analog out. But I don't, for playing games, I don't think I need any of that. But let's shut that off. Oh, let's try a reset to see where that goes. I don't even know. And reset button. Cool. Okay, it worked. Great. It's time to turn it off, and let's try to see if cartridge works. So we're going to try Springer, see if that works. The system is off. I haven't tried a cartridge in here. I haven't tried cleaning the contacts, although it has a door. Wow, it's a very, very tight fit. I forgot about that. And we'll try that now, see if that turns on. This time you'll notice that I've plugged in my joystick controller and turn the system on. It says to plug it into the right port, which I did, and then you can move it back and forth. Oh, perfect. So that works. I have made one quick change to the system, and I hooked it up via composite, expecting it to look fantastic. And it does look about this. I guess it does look a little better. But there's a lot of RF interference, which could be a couple different things. I mean, I'm using some cheap cables. I do have better cables out in the garage. But let's try it this way, and I will show you what the screen looks like with a little close-up of it, and I can also do video direct capture, but which I'm not going to bother doing. But let's take a look at what the game actually looks like, just pointing my camera at the screen. Well, this is about the best I can do, I think, so far for my picture. You're going to see a black, I guess that's the vertical blank that you can see once in a while on the screen. Hopefully it won't affect the gameplay too much. Let's get the game started. The screens look a little off in the color. That's okay too. I read the manual a little bit. Supposed to be looking for... Oops, I started off the second level. So hopefully this looks okay. I'm going to be the purple... I thought I was the purple guy. There we go. So I am looking for an exit. I can get some stuff for points. I was reading the manual. I'm like, this game doesn't seem too interesting. I'm trying to get to the next level by uncovering a box. I can get, I think if you ask me, well, the game looks pretty nice. The characters are too hard to see what they are. And maybe it's because I'm starting off on level 1. It's hard to see what's going on a bit. This is the game. It looks good. The system obviously has pretty good graphics. I got killed. Gotcha that time, Springster. And by the way, I play Springster. Yeah, the draw's kind of like Crystal Castle, so definitely inspired by it. So let's see if I can make it stop moving by moving these the controller, because I would imagine, yeah, it's always trying to go. There we go. So now, yeah. So I needed to do some adjustment to the joystick, and this joystick is grimy. I need to clean it up. But if I don't move now, I just spring up and down, which is what I'm supposed to do. Maybe I'll read the manual later and try to do some capture and see what it looks like. But for now, this is what I've got. I hope you've enjoyed the video. I could probably try to figure out a little bit more of what I'm doing. I don't know if you can actually hear the sound too great, but the picture looks okay. Another system is in my collection, which is not exactly what I'm trying to do. I'm not trying to collect things. Yeah, this game is a little bit, there's too many squares on the screen. Like in Cuba, you just got a few places to go. And I like these guys are blocking me, but they don't hurt me. Alright, well, that's it for now, and maybe you'll see some more about this computer in a future video, or maybe I'll cover my Atari or my TI-99 4A, or one of those systems. Hope you've enjoyed the video, and see you soon.